maybe not all families would have dealt with it that way, and maybe not all.
That's the issue with mental health and cultures, because I mean, it was easy for you to talk to your family about it because you've experienced it as a family, and it's something that you've all dealt with together and come through. But in some cultures, and in particular in the African culture, depression or mental health isn't something that we talk about much within the home. It's not a conversation that's had. Most children wouldn't even know if any of their parents have gone through depression, even though that we're more likely to go through depression than any other. And it's just one of those weird things, like culturally, like how do we cross those boundaries? Because I mean, my family per se, we talk about most things. So if someone goes through depression or someone's down and out, it's a conversation that will be had. But I know within a lot of cultures, and in particularly, especially with black men, we don't really discuss mental health. It's almost as a sign of weakness if you come out as saying that you have an issue. Do you feel what I mean? But how do we sort of cross those barriers, and how do we get rid of the stigma behind like these cultural bounds?
I think generally, like, my perception of things is that wherever there's stigma, there's fear. And I think stigma is a defense mechanism against fear, against something that's scary. I wonder if it's something about that, and I wonder if it's about thinking to get past it. Think, okay, so what are we afraid of here? Like, what is the thing that we're fearful of?
Well, in the black community, I'll say one of the major fears is the system. So how they'll be treated by the system, because you hear all these various stories that when you're black and you get caught up in the system, you're not treated the same. Do you know what I mean? And cultural things are then seen as being perceived as mental illnesses. Because I've had family members that have worked within the field, and they say when a African person comes in per se, and something simple like, I don't know, them cooking a traditional meal and eating with their hands, it will be marked down as strange behavior. But really and truly, it's just a cultural norm. Do you know what I mean? If they go to most African households, they eat in particular foods with their hands, and it's just how it goes. So all those stories that we hear about the system and people being manhandled, especially particularly black men being manhandled, mistreated, it all creates that taboo, as you say, because where does the stigma, there's fear, and that's where a lot of that fear comes from the stories that we hear, that it's an unknown place you're being taken into. So how do I then trust these people with my issues? I'd rather deal with it at home. And another issue as well, which I think causes a lot of problems, especially within the African side of things, is it's our spirituality. So a large chunk of us we're part of some faith or the other, and what we tend to do is when there is an issue, we always tend to leave it in the hands of God instead of dealing with the medical issue at hand. So those are some of the things that we need to look at culturally as well. So those are two things that I can identify on top of my head that causes some of these problems. One is distrust of the system, which has been proven to be against us in some quarters, and then the second is the sort of the influence of spirituality and religion and so forth.
It's interesting because in my training, I remember like this one patient, a Bangladeshi guy, and he was eating with his hands, and a nurse came up to him and was like, "That's disgusting."